Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 24th chapter, and which one? 127? Text 127 and onwards. Can you hear me, all of you?
Yes.
Or should...
Maybe you could just have a look.
Oh, this, okay. It's a little funny. So we are reading Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 10, Bhagavatam, just that verse, and then we're going to start now. Atma Ramascha Munyo Nirgrantha Pirukrame Kurvanti Ahetukim Bhaktim Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi. So anybody repeats?
Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Pirukrame Kurvantya Hetukim Bhaktim Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi. Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantha Pirukrame Kurvantya Hetukim Bhaktim
Sudha Vacha
Atma Ramascha Munayo
Nirgrantha Pirukrame
Kurvantya Hetukim Bhaktim Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi.
Okay, so I think I'll just speak on. Sutta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atma Ramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses the transcendental qualities and therefore can attract anyone, including liberated souls. Okay, so I think we have to go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 24 chapter, 127 verse. So this is explanation of Atmaram verse, which I think we have been doing. I'm reading the verse. Krishnera darshane karo Krishnera kripaya mumuksha chhariya gune bhaje tarapaya. Translation. That's how you do. Simply by meeting Krishna or receiving Krishna's special favor, one can give up the desire for liberation. Being attracted by transcendental qualities of Krishna, one can engage in his service. Okay, by the way, this verse, Atma Ramas Chamunyo, I think you might have discussed, but I'll just speak on it. This verse was commented by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in many various ways. I think he's discussing with Prakashanand Saraswati, that's what's happening. This verse? With whom he is discussing? Sanatana Goswami? Okay. So he gives many meanings to this verse. Why does he give so many meanings to this verse? That's one question. Now, there are many reasons for that. One of the reasons is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to show Madhyastha Bhagavata Puran. That's what Narottam Das Thakur says, that the life of the devotee is centered around Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what Narottam Das Thakur says. Prabhupada quotes in one of his conversations. And the whole point is Srimad Bhagavatam has many layers of explanations. It's deep. There's a depth in this book. And that's why it is said in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva wrote this book in his maturity. And what does that mean in his maturity? What that means, I mean to say, how do we understand Vyasadeva wrote this in maturity? Does Vyasadeva became mature? If you say like this, it doesn't make any sense. He is Vyasadeva. So what do you mean by that? Maturity generally in Sanskrit it means gambhir. It's grave and mature. Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, one of the qualities of Sri Krishna. Gambhir, he's grave and mature. And what the explanation given is that gravity means that, about Krishna, Prabhupada is writing, it means that Krishna can think simultaneously many layers. That means multitasking, by the way. He can do that. He can think at various levels. That's called gravity. Prabhupada says there, a grave person is not that who is a serious man. We know Krishna. Krishna is not at all serious. He's called Lalit Madhav, Vidagd Madhav. He's called cunning. Once, I think there's some pastime where Krishna told to gopis that I'm a very serious person, and they were laughing. That's how it went. So we know, I mean to say, Bhaktisanta also said there's a difference between Vishnu and Krishna. And he said one of the differences is Vishnu is quite a serious person and Krishna is not like that. So, but at the same time, there's one of the qualities of Krishna which is gravity, gambhirta, and that explanation is Krishna can think at many levels simultaneously. So Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. Srimad Bhagavatam is, Vyasadeva wrote in his maturity. That means Vyasadeva, when he was writing Srimad Bhagavatam, his intention was to give many layers of meaning through one verse. Through one verse of Bhagavatam gives you many layers of meaning. Okay, how many meanings does one verse of Bhagavatam has? That's one question. So, can you count that? Well, Madhvacharya, he says in his commentary, he writes commentary to Rig Veda, and he comments on Bhagavatam, by the way. And he says that minimum Srimad Bhagavatam and any Vedic text, they have minimum 8 meanings. Any verse, the minimum 8 meanings. And then he goes on to continue that, he says, I can explain that. And he explains this in his commentary. And then he goes on to say, Mahabharata has minimum 1,000 meanings, every verse. And some of his devotees, they said, come on, you're just, I want to say, just an exaggeration. Mahabharata, every verse has 1,000 meanings. We don't believe it. Madhva says, okay, you can ask me, I can tell you. So he says there is what do we say? Shart ko kya kehte hain? Shart. There is a condition. Yeah.
Condition.
Yeah. So there is a condition that when I'll speak the meanings, you have to repeat it, remember it and repeat it. So he was speaking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He was just keep on speaking, and people were supposed to repeat. And after some time they said, come on, hold on, we can't remember anything. We know that you know the 1,000 meanings of Mahabharata. Actually, Madhva said, anybody who knows all the 1,000 meanings of every verse of Mahabharata, especially Vishnu Sahasranam, he becomes a liberated soul. And he told all these meanings to his younger brother, and he's still living in Badrikashram. His younger brother.
Who's his younger?
His younger brother's name, I forgot his younger brother's name. His younger brother, his younger brother also became sannyasi afterwards, in Madhva's line. So he told him all the 1,000 meanings. He became liberated soul. He went to Badrikashram. In fact, Madhvacharya is also in Badrikashram now. He disappeared and he went to Badrikashram because his guru is Vyasadeva. He accepts him. So that's about Mahabharata. How many meanings Bhagavatam has? Now, according to Acharyas, Bhagavat has infinite meanings every verse. Infinite. And that's why when Brahmaji, he was balancing Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedic text and Mahabharata on one side, Mahabharata and Vedic text, on one side Bhagavatam was heavier, isn't it? We know that Brahmaji was scaling. Come on. In Padma Purana it's there. Brahmaji, everybody went to Brahma, they said, which is the best book? Brahma said, okay, let's weigh it. I don't know what was the weighing scale, but it was there. Some advanced technology. So he put all the Vedas and Mahabharata on one side, Pancharatra and Itihas on one side. On one side he kept Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam was heavier. Why? Because Bhagavatam is not a big book, but Bhagavatam is a deep book. It was heavier. The meaning was deep. And that's why every verse has 1,000 meanings. By the mercy of Mahaprabhu, we just know how many meanings did Mahaprabhu reveal? 81. 81 something? 64. 64? 61? Okay, we have different opinions.
61.
Exactly.
Sorry. 61. That's the name of the chapter. 61 meanings of Atmarama.
Okay, explanation.
He explains to, like,
Then he goes more. He goes, I think,
Right.
further. Anyway, I mean, there's a he spoke and he gave so many meanings, and then he could have kept on going. It is no end. Bhagavatam has no end, in fact. So that's why there are so many meanings to this verse. Mahaprabhu was telling, Prabhupada said in first canto of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says in one of the purports, one should scrutinizingly read every verse of Bhagavatam from different perspectives. If there's a line there. And that's why there are so many commentaries on one verse of Bhagavatam. There are different perspectives to the same verse. So what's happening here? Okay, by the way, anybody knows what's the meaning of Atmaram?
Self-satisfied.
Okay, self-satisfied.
Satisfied in himself, yeah.
One of the meanings. Now, I don't know what happened before, but Mahaprabhu might be giving many meanings of Atmaram. One of the meanings of Atmaram, which is a very famous meaning, is the question raised is, why Krishna is self-satisfied? That was a question raised in one of the, I think Jiva Goswami quotes there. And he says, why he is self-satisfied? So they give one more meaning from Skanda Puran, and they quote a verse. And they says, Atma tu Krishna Radhika. He says, because one of the meaning of Atma is Radhika. The soul of Krishna is Radha. And because Krishna takes pleasure in Radha, that is why he is completely self-satisfied. That's one of the meanings which Acharyas give there. So, having said this, I'll just continue to this verse because we might have all discussed this. So, Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying, Krishnera darshane karo Krishnera kripaye. Krishna Consciousness Swami says, simply by meeting Krishna or receiving Krishna's special favor. Oh really? How does it go? Krishnera darshane karo Krishnera kripaye. When you have darshan of Krishna, Krishnera darshane karo Krishnera kripaye. When you have darshan of Krishna, that is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Or receiving special favor. The whole point is to see Krishna, it's a favor of Lord. In fact, in Ante Lila, if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, gopis are singing, Mahaprabhu is singing in the mood of gopis, by the way, in Chaitanya Ante Lila. And one of the verse he says that, oh my Lord Krishna, Ami tomar prun kripa hoy. I mean to say, I will accept that you have done complete mercy on me only if you manifest yourself in my heart and in front of my eyes. Otherwise, all of the mercy, I don't consider it as actually mercy. That's the whole point he's saying. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sings there. That's what is happening here. A devotee is never satisfied until and unless he sees Krishna face to face. That's what it happens. We have a desire to see Krishna face to face. We don't demand it because we are servants. But we all have a desire to meet him and of course to serve him. That's the whole point there. But the whole point is, that's what Krishna Consciousness Swami says, that a devotee is never satisfied. In fact, the symptom of devotion is dissatisfaction. That's how it goes. Generally, we think the symptom of devotion is bliss and happiness. Actually, that's not the point there. That's not the point. Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, I think in later chapters, in later chapters, I think in the section of Rasabhas, in the last part of the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes that one can feel happy in devotion even when he's new. Yeah, even when he's new devotee. We all feel happiness. But a devotee can never feel sad until unless he's advanced and attached to God. So, Prabhupada brings that point. The symptom of advancement is actually not happiness. Happiness, yeah, we are advancing, we feel happy, definitely we are advancing. It's not that we are not advancing. We feel happy, we don't feel happy in material world. But the symptom of advancement is sadness. In fact, that sadness is, and Prabhupada brings one more word, disturbance, dissatisfaction, spiritual anxiety. Prabhupada speaks of many words there. In fact, bliss and happiness are actually side effects of devotion. Devotion is so powerful that bliss and happiness, okay, they're side effects. So that's why we should not be trapped in that bliss and happiness. We have to go forward. We are looking for in devotion. Okay, what we are looking for when we are advancing. We are looking for klesha agni shuddha moksha gata prit. See, Prabhupada quotes. We are looking for these signs. Like for example, if you're diseased, suppose if you're diseased. So by profession I was a doctor and also geneticist. So many people used to come and many patients. So if I have to diagnose a disease, I'm looking for a particular symptom. Now the patient says, "Doctor, I have pain in my stomach," but it doesn't help me to diagnose a disease. Pain, so many diseases have pain. Pain is not really a symptom of any disease. It's pain. Okay. What else do you have? And he says, "Doctor, I have pain on my right side." Okay, that's something specific. So I'm looking for pain on right side, and then what kind of pain? It is radiating from right back to the lower part. Okay, now I got it. There's a kidney stone. Was radiating from the back to the lower part. I know that's a symptom. So in devotion you should know what symptoms you are looking for. Otherwise we will never know whether we are advancing or not advancing. We will be trapped in our own devotion. Because we will think we are becoming happy and blissful. So we'll stop endeavoring forward. And that is why Prabhupada says this is science of Prabhupada. Put is that science of spiritual realization. What's that book? Science of Self-Realization?
Yeah.
Prabhupada speaks that as science. And I used to think when I was new devotee, I used to think that Prabhupada is just speaking science just for preaching. I mean, if you speak anything science, people accept. But then when we read these books, we know that it's really a science. And that is why we say Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Chaitanya Prabhu is the most merciful. Why is most merciful? That's the whole question. And now, why is most merciful? So there's a commentary on this verse, by the way. Anarpita chiram chirat karunya avtirna kalo. Chaitanya Chaitanya says. So in the commentary, Acharya is right. Why is most merciful? Because he has given a science of spirituality, which nobody did, by the way. Various acharyas attempted that. Madhvacharya, he attempted to give a science of spirituality, of devotion. Ramanuja spoke about science of devotion. Vallabhacharya, he actually said there can be no science of devotion, according to him, because devotion is something beyond words. But Madhva and Ramanuja attempted that, but still they didn't do a complete job, by the way. Because they explained scientifically some part of sadhana. But when it came to the goal part, They couldn't. Maximum they said moksha is a goal of life. When it came to love, they said, they didn't really comment on it. And of course, when they asked why are you not commenting, because Andal, Sri Sampradaya, she's talking about love. Divya Prabandham is all about love. And they asked, come on, it's all about love. They said, well, you can't talk about it in words. You can't put it in words. Love is beyond words. But Mahaprabhu says, no, I'll put it in words. That is the speciality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, I'll put it in words. And he defined love, which nobody did. In fact, Bharat Muni, he has written a Shastra, Natya Shastra. Bharat Muni is a sage who wrote a scripture, Natya Shastra. Natya Shastra means, how do we say, drama and poetry? Dance, drama and poetry. That's the scripture, Natya Shastra. He wrote, and mostly dance, drama and poetry is dealing with love and emotions and rasa. He wrote that book, and he also could not define love. He did not do that. He could not actually. Chaitanya, but Mahaprabhu defined. And he gave a definition of love. Anybody knows the definition of love? No, that's not a definition of love. That's okay. Yeah, that's I accept that. Yeah, Atmaniya Priti Vancha. Okay. Krishnendriya Priti Ichha Dhare Prem Nam. To give pleasure to Krishna's senses, that is love. But that is not a definition of love. That is, okay, what love does. It gives pleasure to Krishna. But what is love? That's a tough question, by the way. So what is love? And there's a definition in Chaitanya Charitamrita, by the way. Madhya Lila. There is a definition. If you go on folio, you find that. And Prabhupada quotes Rupa Goswami, he quotes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's definition. And the definition, should I tell it? Yes. You can search it on folio. Definition is Hirdi Martsena Swantoho Manta Atishayankita Bhavai Vasandranatma Buddhai Prema Vikatyate. That's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That love is when your heart becomes marsanta, it becomes soft. Soft, why? Okay, heart becomes soft, okay. So now the question is, what is a hard heart? And Bhagavatam says that. Also there's a verse, what is a hard heart? How does heart becomes hard? Now there's a verse there, Tadashmasaram Hirdayam Vatedam. Those hearts are steel framed, which are full of offenses. So love is that where heart is devoid of all offenses. All offenses. I mean, even at the stage of bhava, there are some kind of offenses. At the love platform of love, there is no offense. Mamta Atishankita, there is extreme possessiveness at the platform of love. You will feel Krishna is mine and I am Krishna. And bhava vasananatma, emotions are very strong. That is called love. And then there are explanations. So you see the point. That's what we are looking for. Our goal is love of God. Our goal is not bliss. Our goal is not happiness. It's love of God, and we have to get that love before we die somehow. Otherwise, we are defeated. That's all. We can be anywhere on this planet, we can be in any institution, it doesn't matter. We can dress any like, it doesn't matter. We have to attain love. That's what Krishna is going to ask you. Do you have love? If you say yes, come back, come on. If you don't have love, go back to New York and to Boston, to America, to planet Earth, wherever you go. So that's the whole point there. And it's a serious business. It's not a joke there. And that's why Prabhupada says Krishna conscious is a serious business. Prabhupada said that. Of course, it is susukham, it is blissful. That's, although it is serious business, Krishna by His mercy makes it blissful. It is a serious business, and Gyanis and Yogis, they really understand it's a serious business, but because Krishna is not with them, so it's not blissful for them. But just like a businessman, I mean to say, all these millionaires, they earn money. They're millionaires. It's a serious business to earn money, a billion and trillion. But people enjoy that. Worldliness, they enjoy earning money. It's a challenge. So that's why it's susukhamba, it's a serious business. So that is why it is said, Krishna darshaner karo krishnera kripaye. That's why gopis were saying, Chaitanya was saying, Krishna, until unless we don't meet you face to face, we will not think that you have done mercy on us. We don't really agree that you are merciful on us. We want Purn Kripa. So this is what we are looking for. You see all these things, anxiety, and maybe at least initially spiritual anxiety to attain God, to attain love of God, and possessiveness, all these things, and then disappointment because of not achieving Krishna. We are so far off. That's what Mahaprabhu's mood is. We are looking for that. And of course, in all these things, Prabhupada says, you will feel happiness. There's a transcendental happiness there. So, receiving Krishna's special favor, one can give up desire for liberation. That's what this verse says. One can give desire for liberation. When you see there's a point there, Ras varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. That verse is there. By experiencing higher taste, you can leave. By experiencing higher taste, you can leave the lower taste. Now this verse is deep because by experiencing higher anxiety, you can leave lower anxieties. That's how it goes. So when we are anxious for Krishna, we don't become anxious for this material world. So, and then when we are not anxious for this material world, we leave the desire for liberation. So when we can absorb ourselves in Krishna, in devotion of Krishna, by these symptoms, what we are looking for, a devotee leaves the desire for liberation, and that's what Bilbangla Thakur says. That liberation, I don't care for liberation. Bilbangla Thakur, he speaks, I don't care for liberation. Liberation comes to Bilbangla Thakur, and Bilbangla, she says, please accept me. He says, I don't want you. Get out. So for devotees, especially for devotees, liberation is not actually desirable. The liberation, which is a goal for jnanis and yogis, for devotees it is disgusting at some point of time, and that shows the power of devotion. By the way, devotion is so powerful that it can make something so desirable as completely disgusting. And that is why one of the verse in Padyavali Rupa Goswami says, actually begins Padyavali with a verse, and that's a beautiful verse, and he says, devotion is so powerful that it can make ocean into a land into ocean, a mountain into dust, and dust into mountains. It can reverse the phenomena. Krishna's flute is like that. It reverses phenomena. When Krishna plays flute, the rivers stop flowing and the stones start flowing. It just reverses everything. That's what devotion is all about. It reverses everything. What is so laudable for Vedas, liberation, and everybody's talking about liberation, devotion. Bhakti Devi comes and she says, okay, I'll put it reverse. Liberation is nothing, absolutely nothing. She puts it down. And that is why actually devotion, it is said in Brahma Samhita, Vedeshu durlabham atma durlabham adurlabham atma bhakta. What is so rare, what is so difficult for Vedas to achieve, it is so easy for devotion. And that is why you see in Jagannath Puri, they don't generally follow many rules. Typical Panchratrik rules, they don't follow many of the rules there. And in fact, so in fact, Ramanujarya went there, and he saw all these things, and he said, "Come on, let's set it right because they are not following all these rules." And then in the night, Vishnu told Garuda, you take Ramanujarya from here to somewhere else because this is my place and it's a different place. I want it like that. So why? Because Jagannath Puri is a special place. Jagannath Puri is, according to Bhakti Santa, Jagannath Puri is actually, what's that? Dui Guna Bhakti. What's that Bhakti Santa used to say? It is very intense devotion there. Why? Because actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he was, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never lived in Jagannath Puri, by the way, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was physically present there, but mentally he was in Kurukshetra. Because his whole mood, we know by Chaitanya Charitamrita, his whole mood was in Rath Yatra, when Mahaprabhu used to dance in front of Jagannath Ji. He used to sing that verse. What's that verse? I forgot. He used to sing that verse, and the meaning is that I have met Krishna after a long time. And Rupa Goswami explains this, that Mahaprabhu is thinking of a pastime when he is in Kurukshetra and meeting Srimati Radharani there. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says actually Mahaprabhu was staying in Kurukshetra. Whenever he used to take darshan of Jagannath Ji in Jagannath Puri, he used to think of that pastime of Kurukshetra. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the best place, actually that's a revelation, the best place to do devotion is Kurukshetra, not Mayapur, not Vrindavan. It's funny, he just speaks this. To do sadhana, by the way. That's Kurukshetra. Has anybody visited Kurukshetra here? Probably, yeah, Kurukshetra.
I've never been, but I'm familiar with that quote.
You're familiar, yeah.
There's a little bit more to it, that the need of Radharani is so great that if you do service to her there, the reward will be so much greater.
Yeah.
So therefore, those who translate intelligence.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a quote there. So in Kurukshetra there is a Sarovar, Sannidhi Sarovar. There are two ponds. One is Brahm Sarovar. That's a big one where Pashuram, he washed his axe and whatever. And there's another Sarovar, Sannidhi Kund, where actually Radha Krishna met there. It's still there. You can, if you come, you can visit that. So in fact, Bhakti Santa, he was there in Kurukshetra, and there's a house where he lived, and he wrote a commentary on Chaitanya Bhagavat in Kurukshetra. He wrote there specifically. He was staying specifically there, and many of the comments on Chaitanya Bhagavat is talking about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking, what was his mood in Kurukshetra and all these things, and he mentioned about all these things. So that is what is devotion all about. Devotion is, that's why it's very difficult to understand devotion, because at least for jnanis and yogis, because you have to think, you have to reverse your mind, and that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes an article in Gaudiya, and he says you see people who are materialist, they will always criticize people who are spiritual, and people who are spiritual in spiritual line, they will, and especially people who are following religious principles, they will always criticize people who are following the path of love. Because most of the people who are in spirituality, they are religious people, they are on path of worship. And people on path of worship, they will always criticize people who are on path of love, because they will not understand what's happening. And then he goes on to say, people who are on path of love, in that path, people who are in Vedic Bhakti, they will always criticize people who are in Raganuga Bhakti, because they will not understand what's happening. Because at that level, the rules change. Internally, externally it's same, but internally things change. And people who are at the level of Raganuga Bhakti, they will always criticize people who are actually at the level of love, even beyond love, at aprakrit level, where there's a spiritual revelation, there is not just a realization. Which Prabhupada talks about aprakrit platform and all those. Prabhupada gives that 5 platforms. So that is why Chaitanya Charitamrita is PhD. Prabhupada says that Bhagavad Gita is undergraduation, Bhagavatam is post-graduation, and Charitamrita is super specialization. In fact, I used to think about that, and I don't know, somehow we are traveling, I've traveled around the world, and people have not read Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's surprising actually. I don't know why, but many senior devotees have not read Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, just now in Mayapur they did poll, and many of the leaders, they didn't read Chaitanya Charitamrita. That was, really.
They didn't read Bhagavad Gita.
Some of it's, I think, Devamrita Swami says it's his favorite book.
It is?
Devamrita Swami.
Oh, it's favorite? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
either him or Bhaktivedanta Swami. I was talking with one of them when they were saying.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah. So yeah, so but the whole point is, and most of the excuse which people give is why they have not read, because first undergraduation, then post-graduation, then super specialization. So they say we have not even read Bhagavatam, so why to how to read Chaitanya Charitamrita? That's the excuse. But at the same time, I think Bhakti Charu Maharaj has written a book, Nectar of, what's that? Ocean of Mercy. Yeah. And he writes is one of the meetings with Srila Prabhupada, and he asks the same point to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, so we are not supposed to read Chaitanya Charitamrita because it's super specialization, and with UG, PG, and super specialization, you seem to say this. And Prabhupada said, okay, do you know that you have to surrender to Krishna? He says, yes. So he says, you have read Bhagavad Gita. And then he says, do you know how to surrender? He says, yeah, I mean, we have to chant in the process. He says, okay, read Bhagavatam. So he says, now you can read Chaitanya Charitamrita. He makes a point there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Prabhupada says that. But at the same time, there has to be a logic why Prabhupada says Gita is UG, Bhagavatam is PG, and super. There has to be a logic there. Prabhupada doesn't make statements like that. So what's the logic? Logic is that all these three books are talking about the same subject. They're talking about God, they're talking about love, they're talking about how to attain that love. Yeah, it's simple. But the whole point is the depth of each book is different. Like for example, if you take definition of God, the definition of God according to Bhagavad Gita, if you talk about that, okay, what's the definition of God what's the definition of God in Bhagavad Gita? Anybody just think of it? Just a quiz, that's all.
Vedaham samatitani.
Oh, but the whole point is Param Brahma Param Dhamma, that's spoken by Arjuna.
Right.
So somebody can say, Arjuna is a devotee and he can just flatter, and I mean to say. He wants Krishna's.
What was the exact question again?
What's the definition of God according to Gita?
Bhagavan, possessor of 6 opulences.
Yes, so what's the verse there? Verse I'm talking. So aham sarvasya prabhavo, if you say, you see, definition has to be clear, precise, and complete. That's how you define a definition, by the way. There's a definition of a definition. So it should be complete. So if you speak that verse 10:8, aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. So there Krishna says, I am the creator of everything and I move everything, pravartate. But that definition is not complete because it doesn't define everything about God. That definition is not complete because it leaves the sweetness of God. You have to get all the aspects of God. That's a definition. I'm Sarvayaganam Bhaktaram. Okay, no. So I'll tell what's the definition. But most of the acharyas, they quote this verse. Gatir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasha sarnam suhit. It's complete definition. Everything about Krishna in Krishna's word. Krishna himself speaks about himself. Gatir bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharnam suhit prabhava pralaya sthanam. What's that after that? Nidhanam bhijam avyayam. Everything. His mercy, His sweetness, His power, everything is in that verse. I forgot what's the number of this verse.
918.
918? Yeah, 918. So that's according to Bhagavad Gita. So that's definition of God according to Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now Bhagavatam also defines God, but in a more deeper level. And we know the definition of God by Bhagavatam 1:1:1. So it defines God in much deeper level. It's same, but it goes much deeper. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita defines God at a much deeper level. Chaitanya Charitamrita goes. There's a verse in Bhagavatam in CC, Rasik Shekhar Krishna Parama Karuna. You can search that in Madhya Lila. And it defines Krishna as Rasik Shekhar. And that's the deepest level how you can define God. That Bhagavatam says, okay, God is Satchitanand, He is full of bliss. But see, Charitamrita says, well, God is not just full of bliss, He shares His bliss with others. He tastes His own bliss and He also shares it. That's what Charitamrita does here. That's what this verse is coming to that point. So that is what, that's why Charitamrita is super specialization. So there are deeper levels of realizations there. And that is what Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying, that if we understand Krishna as Chaitanya Charitamrita is explaining, we can give up the desire for liberation. It's a big desire. I mean, to give up desire for liberation, that's a big thing. I mean to say, we don't even realize that. We can say, okay, desire for liberation, but it's not like that. If suppose you're in a desert, and that's the explanation given. If you're in a desert and you have not taken water for a month, you'll die. But maybe 6-7 days you don't have water, and somebody gives you water, and can you deny it? Even a drop of water? Impossible. And that is a desire for liberation. It's so problematic word, and Krishna says, okay, I'll free you of all problems. And you say no. It's a big thing. And that's what devotion does. It gives you the power to say no to God. Krishna, I'm okay, even if you said send me to hell. And interesting thing, you see, there is a verse, this Krishna says, Sarv Dharman Paritajya, abandon all religious principles. But the gravity of this verse we'll realize when we practice religious principles. Otherwise, anyway, we already have left the dharma. We have no religious principles. Okay, Sarv Dharma Paritajya, forget it. But we don't realize the whole point there. And that is why this Ramanujacharya, he had a disciple Parashar Bhatt. So Parashar Bhatt, he was a son of Kuresha, Kurathalvar. And he came to Ramanuja. Ramanuja, please explain me the meaning of Sarv Dharman Paritajya. Ramanuja said, okay, you want to understand this? Okay, fine. For 1 year, you have to do austerities. You go to each house, beg. Just 5 houses you have to beg. If you get food, you eat. If you don't get food, don't eat. And you have to go to a place, you have to go to some person's house, and you have to be a servant. You don't tell you're a scholar, you be a servant for 1 year. And you have to do that austerity. And then I can tell you. So he does that. He was a very respectable Brahmin family, Koresh son. He does that and he does austerities. Then he comes and then Ramanujacharya says, now you're ready to understand this verse, Sarv Dharman Paritajya. So that's the same thing, desire for liberation. It's we don't realize the power of devotion there, but at least theoretically we can understand. That's how powerful devotion is. And then it says, being attracted by transcendental qualities of Krishna, mumuksha chhadiya gune bhaje tara paiya. Now this Atmaram verse, it says, Itham bhuta gunohari. That's what the explanation is here now. Now Itham means, in Sanskrit, the meaning of Itham is, can you tell what's the meaning of Itham? Itham bhuta gunohari. It is there. Itham, yeah. Itham means a bundle, a group. Itham. And bhuto in Sanskrit means either living entities or ghost. It can mean ghost also. But bhuto also means wonderful. Adbhut. Bhuto na bhavishyati, we say. So Prabhupada translates Itham bhuto as such wonderful. That's a beautiful meaning if you go in Sanskrit. Krishna has a group and infinite wonderful qualities. Now here the question is, what do you mean by wonderful? Because anybody can say wonderful. It's very abstract word, am I right? It's abstract word. But we use this word. People who know scriptures, they know the meaning of wonderful. People who don't know scriptures, they don't know the meaning of wonderful. For them, wonderful is a very sentimental word. People use that. I mean, people say that. By the way, people say wonderful. It's people say that it's how wonderful class. Okay. No, that's okay. That's fine. But what's the meaning of wonderful? Now, according to scriptures, wonderful has a specific meaning, and Chaitanya uses that word. Chaitanya says that word. The word in Bengali is chamatkar. It uses Chaitanya uses. It creates a wonder in your heart. Now that word chamatkar is commented in scriptures by Bhaktivedanta Bhushan and others. Bhaktivedanta Bhushan has written a book, Alankar Kaustubh, by the way. It's a book on poetry. He has written. Actually, Kavir Karpur has written. He has written a commentary, and he explains this word from Chaitanya Charitamrita, chamatkar, wonderful. And he says why we say Krishna has wonderful qualities. Not because Krishna has good qualities. Krishna is beyond good and bad. If you think wonderful qualities are good qualities, you are mistaken. No. Krishna is supposed to be beyond good and bad. Why we say wonderful qualities? Because wonderful here means Krishna has contradictory qualities. That's what makes Krishna wonderful. And that's what that word chamatkar is there. Krishna has all kind of contradictions in his personality. So he is brahmachari, at the same time he is... What's that? Vyabhichari, yeah. He's both. He's brahmachari, at the same time he's doing Ras Lila. How does it happen? And Chandogya Upanishad, that story comes, Prabhupada quotes so many times. Gopis go to Krishna and they say, you want to cross the river, Yamuna ji, because you have to give food to Durvasa Muni. Krishna says, well, my boat, I don't want to row a boat because that's off, so you can cross yourself. So Gopi says, how to do that? Krishna says, there's a trick. You say to Yamuna, Krishna is brahmachari. And all the gopis were laughing. Come on, you're brahmachari. It's crazy. Krishna says, you speak. If it's truth, Yamuna will give the way. And they spoke Krishna as brahmachari, Yamuna gave the way. No. And they asked Krishna, what's this mystery? We know you're not brahmachari. And why? Krishna, then their Chandogya Upanishad continues this. He has contradictory qualities. He's at the same time celibate, at the same time he's with gopis. At the same time he is very serious, at the same time he is very funny. He can be very soft, he can be like a thunderbolt. Soft as a rose, harsh as a thunderbolt. Chaitanya says that. So Krishna can do all those things simultaneously. That's what Krishna is. That is why it says Itham Bhuto. Krishna has all wonderful qualities. And that's what here Krishna Consciousness Swami is commenting on that. If you gune bhaje tara paiya. If you really, gune means qualities, all these wonderful qualities. Bhaje means if you worship. Prabhupada, what's right? Bhaje. Prabhupada says engages in service. If you really understand, try to understand Krishna, all these contradictions, not just Krishna is like this, all the contradictions, then he says, Tara Paya, then you can attain the lotus feet of Krishna. And that's why that verse in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karmam Che Me. Now that transcendental means that. Now what the meaning of transcendental? Transcendental generally means beyond modes of material nature, beyond goodness and bad. Now what that means transcendental means contradiction, because Krishna has all good, all bad. Either you can say that he has all good qualities, all bad qualities. Either you can speak like that. But that doesn't look good, because we say Krishna has faults. So the way to speak is, Krishna has all qualities, he has all good qualities, and when bad qualities touch Krishna, they become good. That's how the way to speak philosophically is. He's a cheater, at the same time he's a sincere person. He's a thief, at the same time he's not a thief. How does it happen? Krishna can do that. Nobody else can do that. That's why when we meditate on this, then there's chamatkar in the heart. Just like, for example, there's a famous example this Vallabhacharya gives, that Prabhupada also mentioned Krishna book. That Krishna is crawling on the ground. Okay. baby Krishna. Now, all the saints, they are meditating on this pastime and they are becoming so ecstatic. Why? Now, why is that? Because we know that it is baby Krishna, but at the same time, this baby Krishna is God. He can do anything. He appears baby. And that creates that contradiction, and that creates interest. And that is why the definition of devotion, which Rupa Goswami gives in Nectar of Devotion, he says, Mahima Gyan Purvakam Sneha Iti Bhakti. When he defines this Uttama Bhakti, Anyavilashta Shunyam, in the process he gives his definition. Devotion is affection to Lord after understanding how great he is. Otherwise you will not produce contradiction in your heart. And then it will be just Sahajism. That's called Sahajya, by the way. So that's why the bliss what Sahajya feels, that's not real bliss. Because they are not into contradictions. Because they have left all that, he's God, he's Ashwar, he's great, we don't have to deal with this. He's just sweet. So it doesn't create real emotions. It's just they're on sentimental platform. That's why Bhaktisandra said they are all monkeys. They have no idea what they're doing. So Mahima Gyanto Purvakam, and there's a book, Narad Bhakti Sutra, that we have written, and Narad Bhakti Sutra we have in ISKCON, and we have Prabhupada commented few initial verses, and there it comes. There's a sutra, Jaranameva. It says if you try to serve Krishna without understanding how great he is, or without keeping this conception in your heart, you don't have to leave it at any stage of point. It has to be in your heart. Then your whole devotion becomes like Jaranameva. It's like boy and a girl interacting together. That's all. Nothing more than that. It's all sentimental. So to support this conclusion of contradiction, Sanatana Goswami writes a book, Brihat Bhagavatamrita. That's the whole book about. Why he writes that book, Brihat Bhagavatamrita? Why so many people have come? Vishwanath has commented on that, and so many devotees. That's one of the prime books of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami explains what Krishna is doing in Mathura and Dwarka and Vrindavan, and his whole idea is to actually, one of the main things is to counteract Sahajism, and he wanted to show that the pastimes of Mathura and Dwarka and all the pastimes of greatness of Lord, it supports the sweetness, the Madhurya. It doesn't contradict. It supports. How it supports? It supports by creating contradiction. That's why it does that. It doesn't, and that produces bliss. And that bliss, mumuksha chhadua, that bliss, if you experience that bliss, then you can give up the desire for liberation. That's what this verse is talking about. Ittham bhuta gunohari. And then Mahaprabhu is actually quoting many evidences for that from various scriptures. This is the verse, very famous verse. Not famous, but yeah. Asmin sukha gana martayo param atmani vrishni patni patanne surati Atmaram Atmataya me vritha gato bata chiram kalha. In this Dwarka Dham, I am being attracted by Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is personified spiritual bliss. Simply by seeing him, I am feeling great happiness. I don't know who is saying this, but a devotee is saying, in Bhaktivinoda Sindhu, it's this verse. Oh, I have wasted so much time trying to become self-realized through impersonal cultivation. This is the cause of lamentation. You see what's happening here? People who spend their whole life in spiritual pursuit, now they are lamenting that, I wasted my time because I was not attracted towards Krishna. That's it. Once Madhya Puri, he was a Madhva, by the way. And perhaps he was talking about liberation, but in the end he was not talking about liberation. And his own disciples were criticizing him. Who was that who was criticizing him? I forgot. Ramchandra Puri? Oh yeah, actually, yeah. Madhya Puri had some Puris as his disciple, and he was criticizing him. And Madhya Puri says, you get lost, don't. He was talking about liberation. And he told Ramchandra Puri, told Madhya Puri, see, you are belonging to Madhva Sampradaya and you are not talking about liberation. It's crazy. Because Madhva is after liberation. And Madhya Puri says, you get out of my sight. Don't disturb me. That's what he said. So these are the quotes from Bhakti Rasa Sindhu. And there are many quotes like this here. Jivan Mukta Anek Se Dui. If you read Bengali, it's more interesting. It's more depth there. Of course, Prabhupada translates it, but original language captures more. Jivan Mukt Anek Se Dui Bhed Jani Bhaktai Jivan Mukt Gyane Jivan Mukt Mani. There are many people who are liberated even in this lifetime. Some are liberated by discharging devotional service and others are liberated through philosophical speculative process. Can you tell me what's the Bhagavad Gita parallel verse for this?
Can you read the translation again?
There are many people who are liberated even in this lifetime. Some are liberated by discharging devotional service and others are liberated through philosophical speculative process. What's the parallel verse? 13:25. Yeah, you can tell that, but
Lokesmin Dvivida Nishta, T3.
what's that?
Lokesmin
Dvivida Nishta.
Pura Prokta.
But this verse is something else, no? This is not.
Some are inclined to understand it by empirical speculation and others by devotional service.
Okay, it's a straightforward verse.
Yeah, the one I said is the English. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through cultivation of knowledge, and others through working without fruit.
Yeah, that's one verse. But traditionally the verse quoted here for this thing, traditionally the verse quoted is, you all know that verse, Manushanam Sahasreshu Yatamapi Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tatvata. And traditionally that verse is quoted. There are many people who they tried for liberation through the speculative process. Kaschin Mam Veti Tatvata. But few take help of me directly or devotional service to go to achieve liberation. That's what one of the technically what traditionally this verse is quoted as. And in the pursuit of attaining liberation through devotional service, what happens is in the pursuit of that, slowly the devotee will even leave the desire for liberation. That's the power of devotional service. And that's verse 8 chapter, second last verse. And that's what the verse says there, if you connect that. Okay, so is there any questions? I can keep on going there. The topic is going on. Any questions? I'm finished there.
You were speaking about how Sanatana Goswami wrote the Brihad Bhagavatamrita to smash Sahajavan. There's also many people in devotional circle who misquote this thing from Jiva Goswami where he says, don't go see the Lord being worshipped as Ranganath, don't go see the Lord being worshipped as Lakshmi Narayana, because your devotion to Krishna will be hampered.
He says.
Could you please?
There are many verses. Bhakti Sant also said that don't go to Vishnu temple. He said we don't go to Vishnu temples. We are only at the lotus feet of Krishna. He said that because the mode is very different. He also said that, by the way. But we go to Vishnu temples. There are some nice temples. And Rupa Goswami, he says in Padyavali, don't go, and Jiva Goswami says, Dwarka Krishna, Mathura Krishna, we are absolutely not interested with them. We are only interested with Vrindavan Krishna. Prabhupada in Gita purport, he says, we don't even meditate on different forms of the Lord. He says we are just focused on the Shyam Sundar form. There are many comments like that also. So how do you reconcile? That's your question. So the whole point is, you see the point when devotee says we are not interested in this and that and Aishwarya Bhav and Dwarka and Mathura pastimes. That is not coming from a philosophical stance. That is not Tattva Vichar, that is Rasa Vichar. It is coming from the stance of mellows. And actually, because it creates special sentiments for Krishna. Just like Srimati Radharani says, I want to forget you. Now what do you understand now? So we should forget.
Remember Krishna, never forget.
What to do?
She's the head of the school.
I want to forget. So it doesn't make. So how do you understand this sentence? It's all from the platform of Rasa Vichar. The whole point is people who remember him 24 hours, who are absorbed in his remembrance. When they speak, I want to forget you, it's very pleasurable to Krishna. He likes that because he knows that they will not be able to forget him. That's why he likes. And it's there in material world also. It's like that. It's a beloved will say to her lover, I don't want to talk to you. And that will give a lot of pleasure to the lover, isn't it? It happens like that. I don't know, it's like that. I don't want to talk to you. It's nice. We are all brahmacharis, so. But that's the whole point there. But if we speak, Krishna, I want to forget you, he'll say, wow, you're crazy. You're mad. So all these statements can be understood. These statements are made just to give pleasure to Krishna. They're not made to give a philosophical stance. Just to give pleasure to Krishna. And that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that people who are in Vedic Bhakti and Raghunav Bhakti, they will criticize people who are at the platform of love in spiritual world because they will not understand anything what's going on there. It's very difficult to understand. It's beyond, it's not understanding. It has to be revealed. When we become pure, when we serve Krishna nicely, when we serve Srila Prabhupada nicely and they become happy, then these things are revealed to us. And that is where Prabhupada says that levels, pratyaksh, paroksh, aparoksh, adhokshach, aprakrit. One of his conversation. And he says we can go from pratyaksh to paroksh to aparoksh maximum.
What are the translations?
Oh, pratyaksh means sensual perception. Sensual perception. And then paroksh means scriptural knowledge. Pratyaksh means you're seeing from your own eyes. Prati aksh. Prati means every sense action. And then paroksh means, para means others, aksha means eyes. You are seeing from somebody else's eyes. That is shastra chakshu. So that is paroksh. Now you are not seeing from your own eyes. But then comes aparoksh. When you add now you are again seeing from your own eyes. Because now you have understood scriptures and now you are applying in your life. So now you know the truth. So that's aparoksh. That is realization. But then beyond that, it's blocked. That is adhokshaj. Adhokshaj means, I don't know how to translate as adhokshaj as. I think.
Inconceivable by mundane senses.
Yeah, I think adhokshaj is a platform of revelation, revelation that Krishna reveals, and then aprakrit. That is spiritual mysteries there. So beyond aparoksh, we are blocked. We cannot go. Without mercy of Krishna, without his will, we cannot go. It's impossible. And that is why when we attain that platform, then these statements make sense to us and to Krishna. Before aprakrit adhokshaj, these statements are to be worshipped by us now, not really to be understood because you can't understand them, or maybe to follow their worship. And we hope against hope to maybe sometimes maybe it went revealed or whatever. That's Raghunath Swami says hope against hope. That's what the expression he uses. Yeah.
So you're saying devotion is very powerful. So can the akama sarvakama verse also be understood in the same way that even if you approach Krishna for liberation, you approach Krishna for material desires?
Well, actually that verse, you know what it says? Akam sarvakama va moksha kama dharati tivrena bhakti yogena. So that verse doesn't say if you have desires you go to Krishna. That's not the whole point. If you look carefully, it says even if you have desires. It doesn't recommend you. Even if you have desires, even if you desire liberation, even if you this and that, if you go to Krishna, tivrena bhakti yogena, by the powerful process of devotional service, you will lose all desires. And then you will attain Krishna. That's what that verse says typically. So it doesn't recommend that. Actually, it's recommending the totally opposite.
Right.
He says, even if it is that, you go,
Misquoted trick.
but actually, yeah, it's misquoted.
It is misquoted.
Yeah, people use that for their own thing. It's not like that. It's just the opposite they're recommending. You leave everything, all desires, and go to Krishna. Okay, so that's about Atmaramvas, I think. Time is up there? Or what? It's what's the time? 8:45. Okay, that's what you end here? Lecture 8:45?
Yeah, okay.
Prabhu, you want to say anything?
Maybe I could add a few.
Yeah. Why not?
Little comments. Charitamrita, that's of course Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's book. Moonbeams of sheer astonishment.
Okay.
And Lalita Devi in Hansadutta, she, towards the end of the book, is asking the Swan, speak to Krishna, his pastimes in the 10 incarnations, then relates, for quite, mind-blowing for a neophyte or a not so accomplished devotee, how the aspect of the different incarnations, their mood, personality, and particularly the activity they perform, how it related to Krishna in his not so good treatment of Radharani.
Yeah.
So such things to be understood, as you said, for those who have way graduated. There's one statement Prabhupada makes in relationship to Krishna and Balaram's crawling in the 10th canto. These childhood pastimes were so fascinating, and he creates such wonder in the very relation of the hero.
Yeah.
We were saying yesterday, Hansadutta and Madhu Luis going to bathe in the Triveni at the 1971 Kumbh Mela. Is it true, Prabhupada, that by bathing in the Triveni at the allotted times one gets liberation?
Come, let's do that.
Yes, but we've not come here for liberation. We've come to preach pure devotional service, which is beyond liberation.
Yeah, that's true.
And in conclusion, the Asha Bandha, our hope is that we're serving Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in their most cherished mission to spread book distribution in Harinam. And this, I'll conclude, final comment, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's statement. He said that to serve the residents of Vrindavan who felt profound separation from Krishna when he left Vrindavan to reside in Mathura and Dwarka is our supreme constitutional position.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you for so masterfully and exhaustively analyzing, scrutinizingly in the pursuance of the 6 Goswamis, all the revealed scriptures. We were commenting the other day how his Lord Chaitanya presenting the Atmaram verse and all these explanations. He himself is quoting from all the different scriptures and presenting. So Lord Chaitanya is the origin of this process.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.